Some celebrities don't get canceled for saying something wrong. They get canceled for saying something true. In this episode of Rainbow Spotlight, we look at 5 queer stars who didn't spark scandal, just honesty. But honesty in Hollywood can be dangerous. From Olympic gold medalists to rising TV heartthrobs, these men opened up, showed up, and faced the backlash anyway. Some lost fans, some lost roles, and some just quietly disappeared from the spotlight. This isn't about drama, it's about cost. Which of these stories hit you the hardest? And tell us, where are you watching from today? Because sometimes the biggest scandal is telling the truth. Tom Daley, the champion who couldn't win. Everyone's respect. Tom Daley has always been exceptional, not just as an Olympic diver, but as someone who's carried the weight of expectations since he was a teenager. At just 14, he competed in his first Olympics, quickly becoming Britain's golden boy. Charming, focused, and devastatingly talented, he seemed destined for nothing but praise. But behind the medals and magazine covers was a secret that he didn't reveal until 2013. At age 19, he posted a YouTube video saying he was in a relationship with a man. The response? A confusing mix of celebration, skepticism, and quiet cruelty. Coming out didn't derail his career instantly. In fact, it sparked headlines around the world, many of them positive. He was hailed as brave, modern, and a role model for LGBTQ+ youth in sports. But beneath the surface, the backlash started quietly brewing. Sponsors didn't drop him outright, but new deals seemed to evaporate. Brands that once chased his clean-cut teen image hesitated. Some sports networks began framing his story less around athleticism and more around his sexuality, as if the diving pool had become a backdrop to his gay journey, not the main event. And then there were the trolls, from internet commenters to conservative columnists, who accused him of using his sexuality for attention or questioned whether being out gave him an unfair advantage, calling him a distraction to his team. Others, more insidiously, dismissed his accomplishments by suggesting he was now more activist than athlete. But Tom didn't back down. He doubled down on authenticity, marrying Oscar-winning screenwriter Dustin Lance Black in 2017, becoming a father, and continuing to compete. At the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, held in 2021, he finally won a long-deserved gold medal in synchronized diving. The image of him knitting poolside became a viral moment of joy. A queer man fully himself, unbothered by the stereotypes of masculinity. Still, the subtle punishments linger. Daly has spoken openly about the lack of openly gay athletes in elite sport and how he hopes to see a future where people don't have to choose between visibility and opportunity. He's also been targeted for simply existing, from paparazzi photos being framed to imply scandal to online rumors about whether he's really bi or performing queerness for Western audiences. It's a bizarre, toxic twist. Even as he breaks records, some refuse to see him beyond the label. Tom Daley didn't just dive into water, he dove into the unknown and came out shining. But that brilliance has come with shadows. He's proof that being great isn't always enough when the world decides you're too much. Drop a one if you think Tom deserved gold, both in the pool and in the press. Jonathan Bailey, from period drama star to gay leading man. But not without a cost. Jonathan Bailey might be one of the most recognizable faces in period drama today, thanks to his breakout role as Anthony Bridgerton in Netflix's global phenomenon Bridgerton. With his intense gaze, aristocratic swagger, and raw emotional delivery, Bailey redefined what it means to be a romantic lead. But what many fans didn't realize, at least at first, was that behind the smoldering heterosexual fantasy on screen stood a proudly out gay actor who had fought hard to be taken seriously in such roles. Bailey's journey is a quiet but sharp example of how queerness in Hollywood, especially for men, is still seen as a liability when it comes to romantic stardom. Long before Bridgerton, Bailey had built a steady career on the UK stage and screen. He was respected, trained, and deeply talented. But there was one big secret that weighed on him during the earlier years of his career: his sexuality. In interviews, Bailey revealed that he was told early on by industry insiders that being openly gay would limit him. One even told him point blank, "There's two things we don't want to know: if you're an alcoholic or if you're gay." So, for years, Bailey stayed silent. That silence wasn't about shame. It was about survival. It wasn't until his late 20s that he fully came out publicly. And even then, he worried how it might affect the roles he would be offered. The irony, of course, is that Bridgerton, the role that catapulted him to international fame, was one where he had to convince the world he was a straight, rakish Viscount, and he did it with stunning success. But here's where the backlash comes in. Even though audiences fell in love with Bailey's portrayal, there was hesitancy in some parts of the industry to let him lead romantic blockbusters. Casting directors whispered about believability. Producers hesitated to pair him with female leads in future roles. His sexuality, though no secret, still seemed to disqualify him in ways that straight actors never had to worry about. Despite it all, Bailey is pushing forward. He's not hiding. He's not toning anything down. And his performance in Fellow Travelers, where he plays opposite Matt Bomer in a complex, decades-spanning queer love story, only proves what fans already knew. He can do romance, of any kind, better than most. But the fact that he still has to prove himself this way, that's the quiet scandal. Jonathan Bailey is one of the most versatile, magnetic actors working today. He shouldn't need to earn straight roles just because he's gay. And yet, his journey shows us just how far Hollywood still has to go when it comes to embracing queer men as leading men. Drop a 3 if you think Jonathan redefined what a romantic lead can look like, and should be. Omar Yuso, the wild card. Hollywood doesn't know what to do. With Omar Yuso isn't your typical teen drama heartthrob. And that's exactly why the world fell in love with him. The Spanish actor shot to fame as Omar Shana in Netflix's global hit Elite, where he portrayed a closeted Muslim teen navigating love, family, and identity in one of the most openly queer arcs mainstream TV had seen in years. His chemistry with co-star Aaron Piper was electric. Their on-screen couple, dubbed Omander, became a cultural phenomenon, with fans worldwide obsessing over every stolen glance, heartbreak, and tender kiss. But what truly made Omar stand out wasn't just his acting. It was how unapologetically queer he was off-screen, too. From the beginning, Ayuso never played the is he or isn't he game. He was open about his sexuality, vocal about LGBTQ+ rights, and unfiltered in interviews and on social media. He embraced fashion that blurred gender lines, posted provocative art, and didn't shy away from celebrating his queerness. He was bold, beautiful, defiant. And yet, despite his breakout success, Ayuso didn't land the global stardom one might expect. While his co-stars went on to book international projects and brand deals, Omar seemed to remain curiously under the radar. He wasn't cast in big-budget movies. He didn't become the face of major campaigns. Even in Spain, his roles after Elite were mostly indie, small-scale, or quietly released. Why? Some say his image was too queer for Hollywood's comfort. He wasn't the sanitized, safe, polished version of gay that the industry prefers when packaging queerness for profit. Omar was messy, radical, loud, and it made people nervous, Others point to the industry's lingering discomfort with openly gay male actors who don't conform to a certain look or demeanor. Omar challenged every stereotype. He didn't try to be palatable. He refused to tone it down, and for that, he may have been quietly sidelined. Even Elite itself, once celebrated for its progressive storytelling, began to shift focus away from Omar's character in later seasons. The boldness that once made him the show's heartbeat started to feel like something the producers didn't know how to handle. Still, Omar never watered himself down. Instead of chasing fame, he leaned into art. He took on experimental film projects, collaborated with queer creators, and continued to use his platform to highlight LGBTQ+ issues in Spain and beyond. His social media remains a space of resistance and expression, filled with poetry, photography, and personal reflections. Omar Yuso didn't just play a queer icon, he became one, not by following the rules, but by rewriting them. In a world that still wants gay actors to be either hyper-polished or entirely invisible, Omar chose something else. Truth. Drop a 4 if Omar Yuso made you feel seen in a way no other actor had. Joey Polari. The heartthrob who came out and vanished from the spotlight. Joey Polari had all the ingredients of a breakout star. Charming, handsome, and quietly intense, he was one of those actors who didn't need to shout to hold your attention. His early roles were scattered across Disney shows like Avalon High and teen dramas like The In-Between, but it wasn't until his part in the 2018 film Love, Simon that he really started to gain traction. Playing Lyle, the sweet, low-key love interest who almost wins Simon's heart, Joey stood out, not just because of his performance, but because of the authenticity behind it. Just days after the film's release, he came out publicly in an interview. It felt powerful, poetic even. A gay actor in a gay film stepping forward without shame. But instead of springboarding into more roles, Joey Polari all but disappeared from the mainstream radar. The backlash wasn't overt. There were no dramatic cancellations or public controversies. But the silence was deafening. Casting calls stopped rolling in. His name wasn't trending on industry shortlists. Despite his talent, looks, and growing fan base, Joey Polari seemed to fade into the background almost overnight. Some fans noticed and began asking, was Hollywood punishing him for coming out? Why weren't more queer roles going to out-queer actors? And why wasn't Love, Simon, a film that was supposedly groundbreaking, opening more doors for the openly gay cast? Behind the scenes, Joey later admitted that he knew coming out could cost him roles, especially romantic leads. In a brutally honest interview, he revealed that even after Love, Simon, people in the industry told him things like, "You're going to be limited now," or "You've boxed yourself in," as if being honest about who he was somehow made him less believable on screen. He didn't hide. He just wasn't given much to do. That's what makes his story so quietly heartbreaking. Joey didn't get dragged through tabloids. He didn't have a scandal. He was just sidelined. And in a way, that's the most dangerous kind of punishment. One that doesn't come with headlines, just silence. To his credit, Joey didn't retreat completely. He's since appeared in indie films, written music, and pursued other creative outlets. But he hasn't returned to a major screen role since Love, Simon. Not for lack of talent, not for lack of interest, but likely because Hollywood still doesn't know what to do without gay actors who don't fit a narrow mold. Joey Polari came out at a moment that should have defined his rise. Instead, it marked the quiet pause of a promising career. He's still young, still gifted, and still someone many fans would love to see return in a major way. But for now, he stands as a reminder. Even in an era of progress, being honest can still come at a cost. Drop a 2 if you think Hollywood owes Joey a second chance and the spotlight he earned. Brandon Mychal Smith, the Disney star who dared to be different. Brandon Mychal Smith's story is one of talent, risk, and the quiet consequences of not fitting the mold. He started out as many Disney stars do, full of charm, energy, and comedic timing. Best known for his roles in Sunny with a Chance and So Random, Brandon wasn't just a supporting player, he was the spark. His magnetic presence, smooth dance moves, and quick wit made him a fan favorite, often stealing scenes with ease. Disney had found another rising star, but Brandon wasn't your typical squeaky clean teen idol. Behind the scenes, he was open about his love for fashion, fluid self-expression, and pushing boundaries, all things that clashed with Disney's traditionally conservative brand. While many of his peers were content to play it safe, Brandon leaned into his individuality. His style was bold, his persona was effervescent, and he didn't conform to Hollywood's rigid ideas of black masculinity or straight-presenting male leads. Then came the rumors. Though Brandon has never publicly labeled his sexuality, he became the subject of ongoing online speculation. From red carpet looks to ambiguous social media posts, fans began asking questions. Was Brandon part of the LGBTQ+ community? Was he simply an ally? Or was he intentionally keeping things vague in a world that demands labels? No answers came. But what did come was silence from the industry. After his Disney Channel peak, Brandon's career didn't explode the way many expected. While some of his co-stars landed major studio films and long-running series, Brandon seemed to fade into the background. Guest roles here and there, smaller projects, a curious gap for someone with his talent and early momentum. Some fans blame it on typecasting. Others blame it on racism and Hollywood's discomfort with black male queerness, even implied. Because Brandon didn't fit the mold. He wasn't mask enough to be the leading man they wanted, nor safe enough to be a sidekick caricature. He was stylish, sensitive, unpredictable, and that terrified casting directors. Rather than conform, Brandon doubled down on his authenticity. He started focusing on music and directing, carving out a space behind the camera where he could control the narrative. His Instagram became a collage of poetry, visuals, and fashion statements. Raw, real, and undeniably queer-coded. That courage, quiet and consistent, is what makes Brandon Mychal Smith a queer icon, even if he's never said the words out loud. Because sometimes the most radical thing an actor can do is be themselves in a world that demands a mask. Drop a 5 if Brandon's vibe, energy, or style ever made you stop scrolling and feel seen. And some celebrities fade quietly, others are pushed out, because their truth didn't fit the narrative. In this episode, we looked at 5 bold, talented men who didn't cause scandal, break laws, or fall from grace. Their only mistake, being themselves in an industry that still struggles with authenticity. From Tom Daley's journey as an Olympic icon to Brandon Mychal Smith's quiet rebellion against typecasting, each story proves one thing. Being openly different can come at a cost, especially in Hollywood. But silence doesn't erase impact. Their courage, presence, and refusal to shrink are why they still matter. And if we keep telling their stories, maybe the industry will stop punishing people for being real. Which of today's 5 resonated most with you? And hey, where are you watching from? Visibility is power. Let's keep shining the light.